Everyone thought that Iron Man started the trend of comic movies taking over the box office back in 2008. But the trend actually started in 2006 with Over the Hedge. That's right. You may not know, but Over the Hedge started as a comic strip written by Mike Fry and drawn by T. Lewis on June 12, 1995. It's a strip about the hypocrisy of the human condition, as told through animals' perspectives, and it was so spicy that the very next year, the creators were contacted by writer-producer Jim Cox about turning it into a movie. How was he able to reach them? Well, the creators literally ran their AOL email address between the panels of the strip. I'm not even kidding. That's actually the secret to getting your idea made into a big Hollywood production, kids. Works every time. Cox helped Fry and Lewis develop their strip into a film and sell it to a studio, where it actually languished for 5 years until the studio that didn't know the gold it was sitting on finally let the option drop, which allowed DreamWorks to grab it around late 2001. Fry and Lewis were very much part of the process over the course of the production, and felt it captured the tone and spirit of their original work.
What is that?
That is an SUV. Humans ride around in it because they are slowly losing their ability to walk.
Jeepers, it's so big.
How many humans fit in there?
Usually, one.
In fact, they were blown away seeing their little strip turned into a big old feature film.
When the whole thing starts, it's just amazing to think that we were, just talking over beer 12 years ago, and this is where it has come.
It's an out-of-body experience.
It is.
At the time the movie was released into theaters, the strip was featured daily in a couple hundred newspapers around the world. And you'll be lucky if you ever get in a local paper just once. The filmmakers had to turn the strip's little musings about society into a feature-length story. That's not an easy task. The strip had never even been adapted into a short 22-minute TV special or series like Peanuts or Garfield, for example. No, they were going straight from a 4-panel comic strip to an 85-minute feature. No in between. That's a big leap. Plus, I'll have you know, only 3 of the characters in the film are actually from the strip. The strip started right off the bat with a hedgehog named RJ and a turtle named Vern, but it eventually brought on a squirrel named Hammy, and then later named Sammy, and then finally named Hammy again after he swapped places with his double through a mirror. Look, don't ask. Yeah, there was a weird continuity error. Again, not kidding. So the movie expanded the cast quite a bit. Heather, Ozzy, Stella, the chick with the antenna, they're all made for this film.
But we've never really developed the background characters like they did. We've never, when you have those little postage stamp things to fill each day, it's just hard to squeeze in too many characters.
What impresses me the most is how they made a cinematic story out of the strip without compromising the strip's little cheeky tone and spirit. In the strip, RJ and Vern are buds from the beginning, making witty observations against the world together. But this film sets yet another comic movie milestone and gives us an origin story, baby! That's right. Superman's planet exploded, so he was sent to Earth. Captain America was frozen in ice, so he woke up in the future, and RJ couldn't get a bag of chips, so he stole from a bear. These are the origin stories we will retell for decades. And it's an origin story that, yes, leans into the big old animated movie trope of a main character who's lying to everybody. By this point in time, we had recently seen A Bug's Life, Chicken Run, and Shark Tale all do it. And I gotta say, it's actually done really well here. RJ has an understandable reason to lie. He's not just being a jerk because he can. If he doesn't make these other animals, voiced by a veritable who's who of celebrities, scavenge this delicious packaged food he needs to replace for Vincent the bear, he's getting eaten.
The bear is he's the weight of the story that tells you RJ really has to be a crook in order to save his own life.
So, every bit of RJ's put upon, above it all persona is calculated to give himself a better chance of survival. I really do applaud the creative decision to start the movie the way they do. Usually with these kinds of characters, you play the waiting game on making the audience sympathize with them. Wait till about halfway through to start showing they have a heart of gold. And while this movie definitely does something like that, it's great that they establish RJ's motivation so strongly right at the top. This impactful title reveal alone as a microcosm tells you everything you need to know about this guy. That, not out of only ego, but lonely desperation, he'll put himself directly in harm's way and just barely make it out alive. How many movies have a character get run over during the title? RJ's a liar and a thief, yes, but you're scared for him, rooting for him. even if his excuses that he's doing this all in the name of his family ring hollow.
I'm just a desperate guy trying to feed his family.
It's like if Walter White was actually likable, and also a raccoon. A win-win! But really, for a movie that could have easily been a charming collection of loosely related hijinks, a strong opener and some memorable dream sequences are reminding us constantly of the genuine stakes and continuing to propel the story forward. And the life or death stakes make for a really fun juxtaposition with the purportedly idyllic suburban setting.
Fine. You worry about your casserole, and I'll worry about the end of suburban peace and tranquility!
Suburbia is basically a big lie in and of itself to give us humans the illusion of peak comfort and controlled security in a terrifying world, and the movie really shows the extreme lengths we'll go to preserve that lie. Until, of course, the very second that our comfort is jeopardized, and we abandon all pretense of societally acceptable, humane treatment.
I certainly hope he's not in any pain. Kill it! Kill it!
The movie's definitely got an edge to it, but it isn't overly edgy. It's also not overly hedgy. I'm just gonna roll past that. It uses its edge to inject a genuine sense of danger, but the edge of the hedge also really helps to elevate the chaos of the comedy, especially in the brilliant utter chaos of the climax, in which everything from the driving video game that the kids play to the weed hacker comes back. That's exactly what you want in a comedy climax. The movie has its adult jokes, it's a DreamWorks film, but the movie also can find the universal humor in something like arguing over who gets which Monopoly game piece, a classic cartoon fake identity trope that's actually pretty successful. Way too successful, as a matter of fact. And last but certainly not least, a terrific going so fast that time stops scene well before other DreamWorks gem Megamind, as well as several X-Men movies and internet darling Sonic the Hedgehog, ever conceived it. Though Shrek may be DreamWorks' equivalent to Toy Story in terms of iconic original status, despite it not being DreamWorks Animation's first movie, contrary to popular belief, Over the Hedge actually kind of feels closest in spirit to Toy Story out of DreamWorks' output. Think about it. You got characters close to the ground, just trying to find their way within the big human world. You even have a long-standing leader being threatened by a fun, flashy new arrival.
I get it. So he can do a couple of tricks. I mean, it's not like he can walk on water.
Hey, everybody!
But, to be clear, the movie doesn't play like it's trying to be Toy Story. Like a lot of other CG films from other studios have tried to middling success, Over the Hedge is very much its own thing, with its own anarchic spirit and consumerism commentary to boot.
For humans, enough is never enough.
And the consumerism commentary goes beyond a handful of well-written gags. It's actually rooted at the core of this story.
Just take what you need. Just take what you need.
We all have a tendency to deem junk as stuff that we need to survive, even though we don't. So this movie presents a story where the goal is seemingly to get the junk because the main character really does need it to survive, forcing us to go from reveling in the junk's importance, like we often do in real life, honestly, to ultimately, literally, tossing it aside in the name of what's truly important. RJ is told that he needed the food, not the family, and then he finally realizes he does need the family.
So I really need this.
Yeah, RJ goes from claiming the food's for his non-existent family in the beginning to it in fact being for his real family in the ending. I mean, you gotta love how important one insipid little can of Spuddy's chips is to unraveling the plot. It's a pretty cute way to show how our own materialistic impulses can take way too much control over our lives.
We have what we need.
No, we don't.
What are you talking about? We have more than enough.
Now you may ask, is some of the strips hot commercialism commentary, watered down by being translated into a mainstream wide-release Hollywood film that made custom commercial tie-in deals for Walmart and HP? Was the movie that drew attention to the overindulgence of our consumption actually encouraging us to purchase more all along? No, Over the Hedge, not our savior. It can't be. Well, guess what? If you watch the actual tie-in ads that feature the animals from Over the Hedge, you know what they're doing? They're not paying for these products. They're stealing them. The characters literally steal their own DVD from Walmart. After reviewing this additional material, there is now no doubt in my mind this movie was calling for a revolution, my friends. Alright, jokes aside. For a movie full of products, you'd be hard-pressed to find a single instance of real product placement in the actual movie itself. Instead, all this food is packaged with logos for a bunch of fake brands. Spuddy's could have so easily been Pringles, and it played a built-in pivotal role in the plot. It would have been memeable a decade down the line if it was Pringles, sure, but it wouldn't have even been all that forced. You could have made an argument for it. Yet, the integrity of the film is not compromised, and that's legitimately commendable. One could say that all of the brands in Over the Hedge are as fake as the thought that they're important. Truthfully, the only product you're craving to buy after watching this movie is Ben Folds' soundtrack. Really elevates this material all the more. Heist is iconically euphoric, a perfect song for a montage about gleefully living in excess with no end in sight, since whether you're a consumer or a thieving little critter, what you take magically regenerates. Family of Me is economic, emotional character establishing at its finest. The La La part in Still haunts my lonely nights. And he even made a clean, less directly self-deprecating version of Rockin' the Suburbs, with lyrics just as clever as his original. Lastly, Ben Folds covers Lost in the Supermarket in the credits, a quintessential song from 1979 about the lonely, dehumanizing nature of commercialism, with the prophetically fitting line, "We had a hedge back home in the suburbs, over which I never could see." Oh, the hedge itself. He can't get more perfect imagery to center this movie around. Not only does it make for a unique gateway to a forbidden, dangerous world, the so-called gateway to the good life, it has a deeper purpose in this narrative, I think. A hedge is a slice of plant life that's bred for a practical commercial purpose of creating a human boundary, forcing nature to exploit itself by becoming a living product. A fence! What an insult! No, we must resist and transcend. Can we, as animals or humans, overcome the compulsion to submit to commercial life? Can we see past the boundary and meet our neighbor on the other side? Can we see over the hedge? We can, but first, we gotta get over ourselves. Learn like an animated Bruce Willis did from an animated Gary Shandling. Don't try to deceive others into thinking they need stuff that they don't, so that you can benefit, you capitalist sellout. Be honest, and ask for help. And you know what? You'll be surprised. You just might get it.
Really wish you would have told me that sooner.
Yeah, well, that's bad communication. Also something families do.
Okay, one last thing before we go. Remember how I just said this movie doesn't have any product placement? Well, there is seemingly one blink and you'll miss it bit of product placement from a toy line that DreamWorks would actually base a film on 10 years later. That's right. Trolls. Soon to be followed by Trolls World Tour, which, if you take a look at how the schedule for this year in film is shaken out, is going to be the last movie to be released for who knows how long. And we're covering it next. Stay tuned, everyone.
Debbie, I don't remember seeing a permit act for a gathering. Groups of more than one who wish to get... Oh!